Hi, it's Kevin Labates here, and today's video digging into tokens a bit more and what different kinds there can be out there and which ones I think are relevant and which ones I think are not so relevant. So firstly, let's start off with Bitcoin, and it's the odd first cryptocurrency out there. Its pure purpose is the store and transfer of value, and it has no utility beyond that other than if you build some kind of extra scaffolding around it. But at its core, that's what it boils down to. It's the same way as cash. You know, the only purpose of a €5 note is that you can hand it over in order to get goods because you think it has value, the person you're handing it over to thinks it has value, and so therefore they're willing to give you stuff for it. Then if we move on to Ethereum, then we start getting a token that is acting both as a store of value and as something that has utility, in that Ethereum allows you to buy gas, which pays for the running of computer code. So now you have a utility. Basically, Ether is a utility token for the distributed running of code. That should therefore have value, and presumably that's why Ether has value. But of course, there's also speculation, and as a result, the value of Ether is above the value of the computations that the code that it allows you to run provide. And I think that's actually a problem for Ethereum, in that it makes the running of Ethereum code, the whole purpose of the Ethereum system, more expensive than it really needs to be. Then I talked earlier about Obyte, so there you have another utility token, in that 1 byte on the Obyte system allows you to store 1 byte of data on the network for as long as the network continues to run, which looks like it may well be years or even decades. Who knows? We can't predict the future. It also has a value associated with it, so probably it has some of the problems that Ethereum has too, in that the cost of storing that data is higher than it necessarily should be. But possibly that's a price that you have to pay for a decentralized system. I guess there's, whether it's a service provider that you're paying to store your data, or whether it's on an open permissionless blockchain or directed acyclic graph, there's some cost involved in doing that, and somebody has to bear that. So maybe that's where that comes from. Then the next kind of token is a token that is somehow linked to a real world asset. So we're talking here about security tokens, in that the token represents something tangible of value. Now, when I say tangible, it could well be that you're trying to set up a system where 1 token equals 1 gram of gold, and then you need to have auditors who check that you do actually have all the gold in reserve, and there's all sorts of problems. And I find those kind of things have an issue, because how do you link the real world asset to the token in a way that is not expensive and requires lots of accounting and auditing and all the problems that our current systems have? There, your token actually is really not much better than just having a trusted party and a database. The only advantage you have is this freedom from censorship, in that you can transact your tokens directly from person to person without needing the intermediary. So that does have some use, but I'm wondering how valuable that really is to people. And is it worth the cost of still having to have this trusted central authority that assures that the token matches up with the gold that's in a vault somewhere? It gets easier if you use the security token to represent a virtual thing like shares in a company or a bond or something like that, because then you're no longer tied to this problem of having to prove that the real world asset exists and that there is a matching digital token on the blockchain for it. So to me, issuing shares on a blockchain makes perfect sense. Probably doesn't to the NASDAQ or brokerage firms or stuff like that. But there, I think the value of being able to set up decentralized exchanges and conduct share trades without needing a broker or an exchange in order to keep track of what's going on, I think is a very, very valuable use case. And to be honest, that's the first thing I thought would come out after Bitcoin was launched as the first use case and Ethereum as the second, and I was surprised that it hasn't happened until I realized that, well, there's actually a lot of people who've got a lot of wealth sunk into the existence of these exchanges and these brokerages, so perhaps it's not such a big surprise after all. So there's 3 different kinds of tokens and where they sort of fit in amongst each other. I hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.